Hello, all. I would like to welcome you to the first episode of Lightwork with Amli. Um, some of y'all might have caught me on Medium. I used to write on Medium as Amli, your everyday light worker. I built up quite a little following there, but I'm a truth teller. Okay, so the Matrix despises truth tellers because why? Because we disrupt that fucked up programming they try to run consistently. So I got kicked off of Medium, but you can still find my articles there to see what I'm about. It's Amli, your everyday light worker. That's who I used to write as. They wouldn't let me write after, I think they kicked me off in about 2020. I was really getting a lot of traction in 2020, and I was just telling the truth, and they was like, oh no, we don't like this. So they tried to kick me out. Well, they did. They shut down my account and my payments and everything. And that's, how they do content creators that are a little too real. And that's what I am. Amli, your everyday light worker. So let's talk about it though. What are we going to talk about? Okay, so this is the very first episode of Light Work with Amli. Lightwork 101. And I'm a light worker, and also this was something, a job that I just took on, a generational curse breaker. And why is that? Because I had to come home to Cleveland, Ohio, which is where I'm from, unfortunately. Hate it here. Right now, it's like 2 degrees outside. It is absolutely freezing. It is miserable. It's cold in my house. I'm sitting up in my house, and I swear it's 54 degrees in my house. It is that cold because it's so cold outside. The house cannot keep itself at 70 degrees, which is what the temperature is supposed to be set at. But anyway, here in Cleveland, Ohio, where I'm from, unfortunately, I live my adult life in Northern Virginia. That's basically a suburb of DC. I liked it there much better. For one, it was quite sunny in Southern Virginia, in Northern Virginia. Unlike here, usually we've been having some good days here, quite honestly, because usually it's just grayness. It's awful. I don't like it here, but this unfortunately is home. So like I said, I'm your host, Amli. I am your everyday light worker, truth teller, pattern breaker. We're going to talk about these patterns. And this podcast exists for one reason: to help people like me learn how to break generational curses with honest conversation, one honest conversation at a time. So that's what we do here. So let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm a woman in my 50s. I've lived a whole lot of life. I'm a mother. I'm a daughter. I'm a sister. I'm a lawyer. I'm a writer. We're going to talk about my book, because this book that I wrote about my life, where is it? Where? Oh, here it is. This is the book that I wrote about my life. You're going to want to get this if you are someone who has grown up in a dysfunctional family and got to break some generational curses. This is basically a how-to manual on how to do that. So it took me 10 years to write this book because I had to, just deal with what happened. It was fucked up. Unfortunately, it continues to be fucked up. That shit that starts with one generation just gets passed down. And it comes back like that Game of Thrones quote with the Greyjoys. Remember, it comes back harder and stronger than before, unfortunately. So, I broke my personal generational curses that I had with my family of origin. I came back here to help them because, I left. I was like, you know what? I'm the original no contact. I am the OG no contact with parents. It's all explained here why I was like, you know what? I'm not fucking with you. That's what I said to my parents. So a million trillion things I'd rather do than to fuck with you. So I left. And I'm unapologetic about that. I'm back home because, now my parents, they're boomers, are old AF. They're old. And they need help. They getting sick. They breaking down. They need help. I'm here to help. But this is what my shrink said to me when I was talking about, that I had an obligation to help them. She was like, but do you really? Because how did they treat you? So that's a topic. That's a topic because I got lots of girlfriends that, we Gen X. We our parents basically, we was the throwaway generation of the boomers. So all y'all who be trying to hate on X, we ain't trying to hear it, okay? Because they basically, them boomers threw us away, and they gave the millennials the best of what they had to offer. So Gen X ain't trying to hear, y'all are so privileged, y'all. No, we not trying to hear that shit. Not trying to hear it. Okay. So, like I said, let's get back to who I am. I'm a mother, a daughter, a sister, a lawyer, a writer, a professor. Yeah, I've lived a lot of life. I've done a lot of things. A spiritual seeker, and that's how I was able to get through my trauma, by seeking out spirituality that was Christian based, but it wasn't that Christian bullshit they give you in churches, because that's a bunch of programmed matrix bullshit. Now, I did a Course in Miracles. It's a self-cut study course that you do without none of them crazy Christian MAGA motherfuckers. Them some evil. They are not Christ-like. Fuck that. But I am somebody who has spent decades trying to figure out why certain patterns kept repeating in my family, like reruns that nobody asked for. So, I wrote a book called The Way Through, Lessons Learned on Life, Love, and the Journey. I showed you that. Like I said, this is a manual for how to break the generational curses. I basically show you how to do it in this book, because I had to do it, based on what I went through. Then what I learned while writing this book is that most of us are just living our own stories. We are living stories also that started way before we were born. If you are an African American and you're a descendant of slaves, trust, your family has inherited a lot of dysfunctional plantation behavior. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how do we pull our people off the psychological plantation, because trust, that's been my struggle too. It's hard. I got two sides to my family. I got this big ghetto ass Tyler Perry style black family that, we roll deep. It's like 100 of us right now. We roll deep. So there's that side. That's my mother's side. And then I got my daddy's side, and they some brilliant. Their IQs is off the scale. Weird. They weird as fuck. And they some white passing, motherfuckers, when it's convenient for them. They will just float on over into that whiteness. They will do it. They will do it when it's convenient. And, just crossing the color lines, that's something I know very well. And we can talk about what that is like in America when you cross them color lines. When you are as light as me, it's something that you can do. But it's difficult. It's difficult, and it gets on your nerves, okay? First of all, white people get on your nerves because white people look at me and they say, oh, look at her. She's so light. She's one of us. They say things like this. You're a good one. You're one of the good ones. You're not like them. Don't really want to hear that bullshit from y'all. I don't want to hear it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm cool with a lot of white people. I got a lot of white friends. I went to a prep school. So, I do. There's plenty of good, decent white people. I ain't putting the white people down. Not the whole lot of them. But them stupid MAGA motherfuckers. Ugh. So anyway, I created this podcast because I realized something powerful. If you don't name a curse, you can't break it. You got to be honest about what the curse is. And for a long time in my family, we just did not name anything. We smiled, we survived, we stayed quiet. But that does not heal anything. So you got to be like me. You got to put it on Blizzy and trust. I got so much drama from my family. I wrote about my parents. I wrote about, their wholly dysfunctional marriage and relationship, and how me and my siblings were, what were we, when there's someone who, casualties of war, collateral damage, that's what we were. Okay. I got a mama, like Kim Kardashian and a daddy like Kanye West. And you know what pisses me off about them Kardashian West kids? Nobody thinks about them. Nobody thinks about them. And I know their struggle. I know their struggle. Northie, girl, I'm pulling for you. I'm pulling for you. You can do it. First thing you got to do is get away from them crazy motherfuckers. That's the first thing you got to do. And it's going to be hard for her. Because them people got resources. They going to grasp onto her and try to keep dragging her into their crazy dysfunction and pimp her out. Them Kardashian women is all about being pimps. And yeah, so, it's going to be hard for her. But I believe that she can do it. She can do it. She got a lot of heart. Girl, that crazy daddy, woo, girl, you're going to have some daddy issues. I don't know what to tell you. You're going to have to read this book. You're going to have to work it through. I'm sorry, Northie, I'm pulling for you because I know exactly what you're feeling, what you're going through. I know. So anyway, what is a generational curse? Let's talk about it. Let's start this journey with a definition. We got to know what we're talking about. So here's how I define a generational curse with the help of ChatGPT. For real, I don't be coming up with all this on my own. I'm just real talk. Me and Chat be like, this, you be talking about shit, Chat. I'm real cool with Chat. A generational curse is repeating a pattern of emotional, psychological, spiritual, or behavior harm that moves silently through a family line. It is passed down not by fate or magic, but by unhealed trauma. And we all got these unhealed traumas that we live with, unexamined beliefs, and learned survival habits. So, you got to survive. And for example, when you was on them plantations, woo, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. And you learned a whole lot of fucked up shit that you had to learn in order to survive. I'm sorry. It's real talk over here. It's real talk. Okay? A generational curse continues when no one pauses long enough to ask, who taught us to live this way? And you should be asking that, especially if your shit is real fucking crazy like mine was. You got to be like, what? I was like, when the shit was happening to me, when I was 13, okay, let me just break this out. When I was 13, my father, he's crazy, but he's brilliant. And he did some beautiful mind shit where he wrote all over my bedroom walls all these little mathematical formulas, and he talking about Einstein. Okay, cool. You did deface my bedroom, but that might have been cool if he had just done that part. No, he also wrote, die, devil demon bitch, die, you need to die now. And to this day, I don't know why. I don't know why he did that shit. He's so crazy. He probably don't even remember that he did that shit. He won't read my book, so he can't even be like, damn, I did that. That's fucked up. But me and him is cool, because people always ask, well, how are you with your dad right now? We cool. This man is old. He's old. He's looking at death's door. So I knew, because I was mad. I didn't talk to this motherfucker for 20 years. Not really. Like I said, original, no contact, okay? I'm OG, no contact. Please, hold my beer. Y'all millennials and Gen Zers, y'all don't know. Y'all just don't know. It started with us, Gen X. We was the first generation to get just thrown away by the boomers. They was on some fuckery. Them boomers was on some fuckery. I don't know what the fuck that generation was taught. But I know through my experience that they was just, first of all, they just didn't seem to think they had to care about their kids at all. At all. So, Gen X, we got a little bit of a chip on our shoulder about that shit. We do. So breaking a generational curse means becoming the first person brave enough to interrupt the pattern. All right. So it requires truth telling. And I did that in my family system. Most of them just refused to deal with the truth straight up. The only person in my family who read my book was my sister. She's 5 years younger than me. She read it. And I think she read it like I wrote it. When I wrote this book, y'all, I was writing like this. I didn't want to see that shit. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to relive it. That in of itself was traumatic. But, you know, I had to, first of all, when you relive the trauma, you sort of heal it, you know, because this is what my therapist told me. When you were going through it, it was not safe for you to process it. So you stuffed all your feelings about it down, and you really just was like, okay, I'm not going to even deal with this until I get to a safe place. And for me, that safe place, the deep trauma happened when I was about 13. It was a lot that led up to it, but that was the deep trauma. And then I didn't touch it till I was like 33. So that was 20 years later. I didn't even touch the trauma. I didn't even consciously remember the trauma till I was and I was taking a writing course. I was getting my master's in English, and I was doing this thing called free writing. And yeah, that just popped off all the shit that I had been through. I had suppressed it so deep that I wasn't even aware of it. And then when it popped up, it came up just verbatim. Like, I didn't forget a damn thing. And now it's been so many years, and I've written a book. I don't even remember it anymore, really. If I didn't have that book, you know, I wouldn't even be able to talk about this. I mean, I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't written the book. But yeah, the book served as, for now, it's documentation of what I went through, you know, because I did pull it all up. I pulled that shit up verbatim. So healing requires truth telling, forgiveness, boundaries, and the courage to live differently than you were taught or what you were given. In short, a generational curse is trauma on repeat, and breaking it is love in action. So that's what we gonna do. Amli, your everyday light worker. I'm gonna try and teach all about love and trust. I'm not perfect. I don't know everything, but I do know that love and forgiveness is the way. If you don't love and forgive whatever wrongs were done to you, you are gonna make yourself sick, and you're gonna die bitter and maybe even alone. And you know, it's just not worth it. You got to forgive, not for the parent that fucked you over. You got to forgive for you. Okay? You got to do it for you. So that's the definition. This podcast is not going to live in theory. It's going to live in real life. I got so many real life stories that y'all just going to love. Girl, my family is a train wreck. Yeah, when I tell you some things, you're going to be like, what? Girl, what is that, T? She did what? She stole $5,000 from you? Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Little crackheaded niece of mine. Yep. I ain't gonna mention her by name because I'm in therapy because I got so much anger against her when she only doing, you know, she only repeating the trauma and the pattern that she was given. So, you know, I gotta try to remember that while I go through my anger management therapy against this one particular relative, because she did me wrong. She did me dirty. There's a part of me that just wants to fuck her up, and that ain't right. You know, I have learned through my study of A Course in Miracles that is only going to hurt me. It might hurt her. It might, but it's really going to hurt me. So I'm in therapy right now to get over this injury that I've suffered. So I didn't just study generational curses. I inherited them. In my family that I grew up inside, there are some major ones. So let's, talk about it. First one is addiction. A lot of alcoholics up in my family. Other substances were abused. There was emotional addictions, coping mechanisms. All this shit was just passed down like recipes. Oh, this is huge. Mental illness. Bipolar. Run into my fucking relay races up in this bitch. It's crazy. Just relay races. You know, this one done gone off the deep end. Now this one done gone off the deep end. Oh, wait, now here go this one going off the deep end. And when they do that, they're very, very destructive. Whew, child. We don't have to talk about it. So specifically, the mental illness is bipolar disorder, but there's also some borderline all up in this. And like I said, it's the Kanye is the bipolar, Kim is the borderline. Ooh, them borderlines are just infuriating. Because you know, people they don't act crazy. So you can't really point out nothing real crazy that they doing. But trust, them borderlines is crazy. Trust. So, you know, what I have called the bipolar is beautiful mind with fangs, okay? Because my dad, he got a beautiful mind, but that shit will turn on you and against you, and you will be like, what? Because I was. They're brilliant people, my father's people. They are creative people. They're gifted people. But they are some deeply, deeply, deeply troubled people. Real talk. So that pattern goes back many generations on my father's side. We're going to talk about the Granger men and my issues with them. Genius and chaos wrapped up in the same DNA. And you know what really gets me, y'all? I really struggle with this. Is that when I was going off on my dad, one time I was going off on my dad because he was in jail and he was trying to ask me to help him get out. And I was like, no, motherfucker, you need to keep your hands to yourself. Stop hitting women. No, I ain't helping your ass. And he wrote me back talking about, oh, I'm so disappointed in you. You have hurt me deeply. Yeah, and? Like you didn't do that to me first. And then he was like, you know what, Amber? You just so much like me. Now that was the knife that plunged deep. I was so much like him. I had to think about it, y'all. I had to think about it. I had to be real. I had to be honest with myself. It was true. It was true. I am so much like him, and I don't want to be. And that's why I'm in therapy, because I am not physically violent like he is or has been. He's old now, so he ain't, as far as I know, he ain't cutting up and hurting nobody now. But this tongue of mine, it's got razors on it. I am verbally violent. That's why I was so good at litigating. I am verbally violent. And I'll slice and dice you. I will slice and dice you without much thought. And then when people is all hurt and cowering and talking about how I'm crazy and I'm wrong, I'd be like, what did I do? Ugh, I'm not proud of it. I'm owning it to y'all because this is how we heal. We got to be honest. We got to be honest with how our family is dysfunctional. But we also got to look in that mirror and be honest with ourselves about how we are dysfunctional. And we do. I'm sorry, y'all. It's true. On my mother's side, the lesson was different. It was what I call the plantation psychology. You know, these slave masters, they knew what they was doing. They knew how to just fuck with people's heads. My big Tyler family, Perry, I swear, I'm like, come on, y'all. We got to get off this plantation. These white people ain't overseeing us no more. Let's get off the plantation, y'all. Because, you know, they are, you know, here's some of the things. It's just typical black family stuff. Don't tell the family business. Keep things looking good from the outside. Endure. Be strong. Be quiet. Don't tell them white folks. Don't tell them white folks what we doing. How we so fucked up. Because they will come for us. They will come to get us. And that's kind of true. That's what makes it so difficult for black people to heal, is that white people will get all up in your shit. And they will fuck with you. For real. We don't trust white people in general society. So I'm talking about doctors, teachers, lawyers. We don't trust them. We do not trust them. And we got good reason to not trust them. We got good reason. So, we had to stay on that plantation. That manifests through colorism. Yeah, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna go there. And let me state my position on colorism. That I took from the Jungle Brothers. Those are rappers, conscious rappers. So you probably ain't never heard of the Jungle Brothers, but they did this song called "Black is Black is Black is Black," and I like that song, and I like one of the lyrics of that song, and I'm just gonna say it for you. Judged by both my race and color. Don't you know we need each other? I need you, and you need me. And if not you, if not now, you soon will see. My light complexion has no meaning. If you think so, you're still dreaming. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. There's no time for us to break up. Black is a black, not blue or purple. Being black is like a circle. Round and round we all go. Where we end up, I don't know. Your fantasies will get you killed. Reality is what is real. Reality is what is real. Reality is black is black. And so what I mean by that is, it's a lot of black people who want to play these little games, these little colorism games, and look at, someone like me and tell me I'm better than the rest of the black people that's dark skinned. And, I'm not buying into that little bullshit. I'm not buying into it. I have got a history and a legacy that connects me to people who are black as tar, and they're my people, okay? Those are my people. I'm never going to turn against my people. I'm never, ever gonna do it, white folks, because it's a lot of white people. Like I said, I got a lot of white friends, and they will play it, that little card. You're not like them, no, Amber. You're a good one. No, I'm not. No, don't play that little game with me, white people. Do not. If you're going to take me, you got to take all of me. And I'm black, okay? Black is black is black is black. All right? I get into all of that in my book. When I wrote this book about what happened to me, I was too ashamed. I wrote this book in 2011, and I was too ashamed to even market it because, child, you got to read it. There's some shit up in there. I was ashamed of it. Not because my story was inherently shameful, just because shame was taught to me as, a second language, that you cannot, and this was the worst thing. This is the worst thing my people did to me. And they was just trying to keep me safe and protect me. But they was like, you cannot talk about what happened to you, especially not in front of them white people. They will come for you. They will come for you. And the thing about white people, some of them, the MAGA types, is that they will come for you. So it's not like my people was tripping. They was just doing what they thought they needed to do to keep me safe, which was shut up. Shut up. Don't say nothing about what is happening to you. So here I am. I'm 50-something years old. I've reached a point in life where finally I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. I'm not carrying these secrets anymore. I'm just not doing it. I'm not protecting those patterns that almost broke me. I'm choosing to be the person in my family who says out loud, this stops here. And how I'm doing that is I'm putting it on Blizzy. And trust, they're going to hate this. And my family going to hate this. But, oh well, oh well. I'm sorry. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing these dysfunctional patterns anymore. And the way we do that is we shine light on them. That's why I'm your everyday light worker, okay? Every episode of this podcast is going to be about that. Telling the truth, naming the patterns, sharing the stories, learning how to heal, okay? I'll be reading from my book, talking about my life, talking about my family, talking about what it actually takes to break free, Not in a perfect, polished way, but in a real way. We keeps it real up in this motherfucker. We do. And here's what I hope for you as you listen. I hope you start recognizing your own family patterns. I hope you find the courage to ask hard questions. That's how it starts. I hope you realize something important. If you are the only one in your family who sees the curse, you might be the one who was born to break it. And trust, it's a hard job. But you know what? That's why we're here. We're gonna talk about it with each other. We're gonna build a community of family generational curse breakers. We gonna do it. So, welcome to Lightwork with Amli. Class is officially in session. The next episode, we're going to talk about what it's like to live with a beautiful mind with fangs. Until then, be gentle with yourself. Tell the truth anyway. And remember, breaking curses is light work. So welcome to Light Work with Amli.